The Brewers have reportedly found their new manager, and they didn't have to go far to find him. He is the Brewers bench coach, Pat Murphy. The team expected to promote him to manager. That's according to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. Murphy's 64 years old. He was interim manager of the San Diego Padres before he was hired by former manager Craig Counsell in 2015 to be the Brewers bench coach. He also coached Counsell at Notre Dame. Murphy went 42-54 in his short time as manager in San Diego. He also managed one game for the Brewers this season when Counsell attended his son's high school graduation. And